talk with my hands like Ben does. Ben's good at that. So I'm going to cover this, the fire protection first. And one of the things Ben does say that when he goes to seminars and stuff, a lot of times you'll say somebody said, we're going to go with our housekeeping rules first. And that's so that you know where the exits are, where the bathrooms are, what the rules are. So he kind of wants people to keep that in mind when you have visitors. Because when you have visitors visiting you, they have no idea where our evacuation area is. They have no idea of where the bathrooms are. They have no idea of which exit to go out. So it's always good to make sure you go through that. And I'm hoping that the instructors do that in their syllabus in the beginning of the class semester, so they let them know. And there's some statistics in there. I won't get into too much of that. But there have been a number of major fires that happened in North Carolina in the last probably 10, 15 years. Some of them are famous or infamous. And we'll touch base on those. And it's kind of the exit routes on this, throughout the facilities, there are some of these evacuation maps. We all know that they're probably 20 years old or older, and we're in the process of getting them updated because there's a lot more information that needs to go on those. We have AEDs. There's actually one in this building. You want to know which exits to go out, and one important thing is that this portion needs to be in there. There should be signs around the campus that have red signs that says evacuation gathering areas. And those are where, if you have a fire alarm, you're supposed to go to so that you're safe, you're away from the responders and so forth, and people can see who's out there and make sure everybody got out of the building safe. So they consist of three parts, and exit access, the exit itself, and the exit discharge, which is actually where you go to, which is the gathering area. Exit routes must be permanent, and there must be enough. My phone's going to keep going off because of the reception in here. Exits are separated by fire-resistant materials. A lot of that, or the doors are fire-rated. And you can tell a fire-rated door because if you open up and look at the door, by the door jamb, it will say that it's fire-rated and for how long. Openings have to be limited, so allow access to exit or entry freely. And they've got to be protected. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of places that have fire doors and they're always closed, so that separates them. So that if you're in between, it would help you in case of a fire. And then again here, exit discharge, it has to leave directly outside. It can't lead to another space that will let you go out. So you should not ever see an exit sign that is not by that particular door that goes outside. There's exit stairs. And one of the things I'll touch upon is that in buildings, and you don't have that here, but in some of the locations like Pittsburgh, the Leak main campus, we have two-story buildings. So you have elevators, and you also have stairwells going down. And if you have somebody who's handicapped, your job is not to take them down the steps. There's areas, and I'm positive this in the science building because I've been through it enough times. There's areas at both ends of that building that allow for somebody to be staged there, and you press a button, and that will let the responders know that there's somebody in that space, and the fire department will come up. Because what happens is, if somebody's got an electric wheelchair, that's what they've got an electric wheelchair, and one of them had oxygen tank, then the weight of that person, that could be 500-600 pounds. And there's just no way you're gonna be able to do that. What's gonna end up happening is you're gonna harm yourself and that person trying to get them down the steps. Those areas are usually fireproof in a sense because they're all metal and concrete, so they're safe to be there. That's why they were designated for that. Exit doors must be unlocked, and this is where we talk about one of the worst fires and deaths that happened in North Carolina. And that was at the chicken place. If you remember, it was way back where this happened, right here. They had locked these doors. I believe they chained them as well. And a lot of people died in this area in front of it because everybody's going to the nearest exit. Smoke inhalation, that's what killed them. They died there because once you start getting people in there, they press against each other and there's no way to get back out again. So all fire codes require that these doors cannot be locked so you can't get out. And the fire code also says it should be a one operation. So here you see there's a bar that goes across. All you do is hit that bar and it goes out. Now, that doesn't mean it can't be locked from the outside, which it can be, but it cannot be locked from the inside. The door is closed and locked, but you push it once and you go out the door. You're good to go. And there shouldn't, and again, there's some exceptions, but you don't have to worry about it. Side hinged exit doors. Doors must be swung out toward where you're going. Okay, so you don't want to have 30 people trying to pull a door in, and it's not going to work because everybody's going to jam up and the same thing's going to happen. People are going to be compressed against each other. Nobody gets out. So it's a requirement that if you go out that door there, the door has to swing out to that open space. And this is kind of some capacities and dimensions which are really useless for you guys. What you really have to be concerned about is making sure that the area that you go out at is clear, so there's no obstructions. And then, again, there's no supposed to be any explosives or flammable materials around. Try to keep people away from those kind of areas. We don't really have those kind of areas here. And of course, all the equipment, the exit signs, the fire alarms, the fire extinguishers, they all have to be in working order, and they are tested. Exit must be marked. Most of them are marked like this. Most of them will light. They have a battery pack, so if you lose power, those will still stay lit. This one you see, this particular door has an alarm system as well. A lot of places use them so that they know people don't go out when they're not supposed to, and that does sound an alarm, but again, all they got to do is press down on that crash bar and they can get out. Some places have them they call delayed egress, where you hit a button and they allow this, gives them 15 seconds. And there'll be a sound and a person saying, alarm has been pushed and so forth. It's not for well, kind of sort of as college. I see that a lot of people go outdoors that they normally wouldn't go out because it's easier. That kind of stops that. But again, fire code allows that. We don't use those here. And all the exits must be again marked. And if you can't put it right by the door, you need to do this. Put the sign there and the arrow to help you get to that location. The other thing that you have to mark is doors that aren't exits. Okay, so you don't want to you're not familiar with the area and you see a door, and you hit that door and it doesn't open. Or it leads you into a closet. So normally, if you look around here, you'll see doors that say janitor's closet. That's why they're marked that way. And if there's a door that says not an exit, I mean not an exit. You gotta go find something, someplace else to go. Emergency action plans. This tells, it's pretty, this tells you here are the end routes to go out. Now there's primary and secondary exits. And there's where the handicapped person is. And I think, I'm not sure if that's where the extinguisher is, but you should mark all those things. These are staging areas for like we talked to the handicapped folks. Again, we're in the process of updating all the ones at all the different locations, so bear with us, because we got to get those things done. The fire prevention plan is mainly for, some of these things have to be recorded and sent to the fire department and the fire marshal, so they know, the responders know what is in the building in case there's hazardous materials, and of course things like where the handicap location, the handicap areas are. So who they need, who the contacts are, so that's why they have to have names and job titles responsible for all these things. And the big thing is to make sure that all the employees have training for this, and that's some of what we're doing and starting now. Portable fire extinguishers, they're located throughout all the buildings. Normally you'll see an arrow like this. A lot of them are in glass cases. You just open up a case and so forth. I know that Ben does not recommend somebody using them who doesn't know how to use them, but I would think that if it's, number one, if it's a small fire, most people can handle those things. It's really just pulling a pin, taking it, aiming it. But there are going to be classes that he's going to be conducting. He does it in a small group because they actually put out a fire with those extinguishers, and they have to have the right equipment and so forth. And then I'll get this right. Here you can see where they put a fire extinguisher and then they blocked it up. The fire marshal sees that, we get cited for something like that. So it's got to be somewhere where people can reach it. And then here's some of the extinguisher classifications. Normally you probably will see probably these two more than likely. You will not see number D because we don't have combustible metals here at this location or any one of our campuses or buildings. Of course, these are the ratings. So as you see, they say that a 4A extinguisher should extinguish twice as much fire as a 2A extinguisher. Very simple. The larger it is, the more you can get, more fire you can put out with it. And these again, here's the portable. And the guys go around once a year and check those. So walk around, check it, make sure it's got a dial on it. We'll tell you whether it's low, medium, or full. And they have to have a record for it. So, and here's some of the training that they do. As they put something on fire, they give you a fire extinguisher, show you how to use it, and you'll be surprised how much fire can be put out by a small extinguisher if it's done correctly. And that's what the training is for. So that's kind of the summary. Talks about exit, the exit routes being marked and unobstructed, after having a fire prevention plan, and fire extinguisher classes, and maintaining the extinguishers, and training is the key to all this, and where to go. So if you don't know where those evacuation gathering areas are, just start looking around for that little red square sign says emergency evacuation areas. And that's where you need to go. I'll take questions after my presentation, but I will tell you, I probably don't have a lot of answers on the fire side, because that's not my area of expertise. I will add this one. Get into mine. Okay. What I forgot to do. So let me pull up something. Okay. My presentation is on how to plan for emergencies and evacuations. The thing of it is what I'm going to do. Maybe not. There it is. I'm not going to get into the manuals and stuff that we have. What I will do is I will show you on the board here where you can find it. Because the emergency procedures manual that is on the website is like 33 pages long. I'm not going to go through 33 pages with you. What I'll do is I'll tell you where it is and how to get to it. And when you have time and you want to see it, then you can spend that time. If you have a hard time going to sleep, you can start reading it, and I guarantee you by the 33rd page you'll probably be there. So, out of this, show you. There are two locations on the web page that you can find these manuals. Okay, if you go down to the bottom where it says services and security, and there's some other information on that, but on the bottom you see emergency procedures manual. And I'll just quickly pull up the chat. And as you see, it's got a lot of stuff in it. The difference between this manual, the Lee County manual, and the Chatham one is actually just this list. And all it is the contacts, who the contacts are. So they're specific to the county that you're in. So it tells you minor, major, and catastrophe. Big catastrophes, so everybody gets notified then. Didn't want to do that. Anyway, the other place to do it is that you can go to employment and HR under services, and you see safety and security on the right-hand side there, and click on that one. And then you see emergency procedures in the center. And it's just a different way for them to set it up, and then you just pick out the Harnett County map. So those are the two locations that you can go to and find these things. And it's there for everybody to see. A couple other things that we have for that is we also have these things throughout the hallways and all the buildings. And it gives you a lot of the major high-level things to do. It's more of a refresher. It's not meant to tell you everything. It's just a refresher to say, hey, I read the manual, I'm not sure of this, and this will help you out. We also sent out a bunch of these not that long ago. Everybody should have got one for their desks. And it's just a quick reference guide as well. Again, a refresher to remind you of what you can do. Doesn't cover everything, but it does cover a lot of the major things. The other thing is a lot of people who been here for about 4 or 5 years. At one point, we sent out we have a emergency procedure training module that we had set up, and all new employees are required to take that. And it's about 28 to 30 slides. gives you a lot of detail about certain things. And then there's I think a 10-question test after it. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Blackboard, or is it on the HR?
It's on professional development under Blackboard.
Okay, on the Blackboard. It used to be separate on Blackboard, but now we gave it to HR to handle because we wanted the new employees to have it. So those are the resources that you have available to you right now. So I would, if you're unsure of anything, go to that main emergency procedure manual on the website, because that's the most detailed we have for that. That's covered there. What I will get into is something that we're kind of pushing a little bit harder. It's a little bit more, it's more of what we're doing now, what we've decided to do as far as if anything happens on campus, as far as the lockdown goes. And the purpose of the lockdown is to secure those people safely on the inside and hopefully not let the person who's trying to do something to others into that area. Now, if you had a lockdown called here, it's going to be very difficult for the outer doors to get locked down. It really is. Because if you count the number of doors you have on your building, you're not going to be able to close it. Those who have single buildings, forget about it because they're already in the building, so it doesn't matter. But with multiple buildings, it's very difficult to get those doors locked down quickly, because these things happen quick. How are we going to be able to notify you about this? There's a number of ways. I do know that all the buildings here on this campus have radios. They have at least one radio in the building, so that you can be notified by the radio, and then word has to be spread out from there. The other thing, hopefully, and I don't know how well this is going to work here in a real situation, because of the way cell phone coverage is in these buildings, is that we also will send out a Cougar alert. Everybody here in this room should be signed up for Cougar alerts. As a staff and a faculty member, your responsibility is for the people that are in your area and in your classrooms, so that you need to know what's going on. The other portion of it is there's a thing called Alertus. And Alertus is a system that works together with the notification. So when I send out a notification, I'll do it on text message. That same text will show up on your computer. If your computer is hooked into the network, and it has to be hooked into the network, and it will not work on a laptop wirelessly. Unfortunately, that's the problem. But if you've got a regular desktop computer that's hooked into the system, what it will do, it will pop up that message and take over your computer. This is within seconds. So if you don't get the alert by text, that will pop up to those computers that are hooked in the network. So that's what we have right now. We've looked at other things to do. Everything comes down to funding. So everybody wants a piece of the pie. So we have to fight for funding, but we're looking at different things to do now anyway. Again, you guys are responsible for all your students and your visitors. And if you find somebody in the hallway and you're starting to lock down, pull them into your room, okay? Because they may not know where to go. These are the lockdown steps, okay? We'll try, again, this we put in there because we'll try to do this, but again, I don't want my security staff to be out there locking down doors with an active shooter in that area, because they don't wear bulletproof vests, they don't have guns. I need them to lock down as well so they can protect themselves. Anybody who's not in the classroom, go to the nearest open door that you can get into. Hopefully be able to lock it from the inside and go in there. Once the door is locked, do not open, okay? And that, I mean, do not open. If it's me at the door knocking, if it's Dr. Marchant knocking, okay? You don't open the door. I might have had a bad day. Dr. Marchant might have had a bad day. So if you don't know who that shooter is, it could be anybody. It's happened at other colleges where faculty was the shooter, faculty member. It's not just always students and somebody from the outside. It can be, and it happens a lot more in the private sector, in those type of shootings, where it's somebody that either works there or just got fired not too long ago. So you just don't know who it is. Once you're locked in, you stay locked in. If you can barricade that door, here it's going to be very difficult because you got a window. But if you're in your office and you can push your desk up against it, do that. Now we started this not last year because we did the drill here in October, that we have the red cards in most everybody's office. And that's for those that have windows in their offices or classrooms. And instead of, I know in some of the school systems, they got this nice system where they have these cards and they shove them out under the door. Well, think about this. If I'm walking down the hall and I want to know where people are at, I'm going to look and see, oh, there's a card there, but there's not one there. I wonder why. I bet you there's somebody in this one. It's very easy to see. So we decided to do something different and say, well, you know, the responders are going to be the ones that are coming out from the outside. The shooter's already inside the building. So why not put those out to the window where they can see them? That's why we had the room numbers there, so they can see those. So then they're coming up and they see room 310, and what we're going to end up doing here is actually adding the green one, a green card to that. Right now, if you see in the back by the window, there's a red card with the room number. We'll add a green one. So the green one will say, hey, we're in here, but we're all okay. And the red one will stand for, yeah, we're in here, but somebody's hurt, needs help. So then they can understand that, they can keep that in mind when they start going through things. Turn off the lights, close the blinds, just make sure that card's on the outside. Stay away from the windows and doors. So in this room, we'll have a little bit of a problem because we've got that big window right square there. But just think of this. When you're walking in here someday, close that door and kind of look. See what you can see. I guarantee you can't see this corner. So guess where you're going to be? You're going to be in this corner here. You're going to get up close and personal with the people that you're at, because you're going to all squeeze in here. So I would say if you're probably from this location back here, you're probably going to be in good shape. Now this does have a middle one here. You may be able to use that. Most classrooms don't. Cell phones, put them in the silent mode so that if somebody's calling you and if this thing hits the media, people are going to try to get a hold of you. Don't leave your phone on the desk and on vibrate, because that makes a noise. You'd be surprised how loud that is, especially when everybody's trying to be quiet in this room. And again, you don't open a door unless you know somebody from campus security or administration member. What happens is that the law enforcement folks will get keys, so they should be able to open those doors by themselves. So they're not gonna, they might bang on the door, but they're going to come in anyway. If a fire alarm, now this is go back to fire alarms. If a fire alarm is pulled during a lockdown, do not evacuate. The reason being that if you don't see those flames, if you see smoke, don't fall for that. I can buy a smoke grenade in a lot of different places. But if you see flames, probably a good idea then to evacuate. But if it's somebody who does a fire alarm, then they want you out of that locked room or that locked area. In, I believe it was Louisiana, at a middle school, the plot was 2 middle schoolers were going to shoot some people, and one of them went in. What did he do? He pulled the fire alarm. So he could have everybody go out, and he's laying in the woods on the tree line with a rifle to shoot down his friends. I say that facetiously. He was going to kill some people. So fire alarm, no fire, you don't see the flames, stay in the room. And you'll tell, you'll be able to tell. And I wouldn't go to the window and start looking around either. I would stay here. And this is important too. Emergency responders, they don't know when they get here who the bad people are. Whether there's one, there's two, there's three, whether they're female, male, they have no clue. All they know is they've got a report of an active shooter. Hopefully when they talk to somebody, that somebody would be able to give them some type of description, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. So they're coming in here, their adrenaline's going, and they are going to try to take out the shooter. And what they're trained to do is they're trained to listen for the shots and go toward those shots. And their job is to neutralize that shooter. If unfortunately somebody's laying in the hall bleeding, they'll walk right by. Not because, they're callous that they're there. Their job is to make sure that shooter doesn't shoot anybody else. So their job is to get that shooter. And you must make sure that if finally when you get that law enforcement officer or officers in your area, that you follow whatever they tell you to. It's very important. If they tell you to put your hands up, put your hands up. If they tell you to sing and dance, because they will not play. Because again, they do not know who the shooters are. I could be in this room with a gun and stay in the back behind a couple people and have a gun in somebody's back, and so they have no clue. They want everybody with their hands up. It's one of the first things they tell you. And then you'll actually go out the door and into a safe area with your hands up all the time. And then when they get to that outside, they'll also pat you down. Because they don't know who's the bad guy is. They don't know if there's any accomplices. If you're already outside and you can get out of here, turn around and get out of here. Okay? Don't attempt to go into any of the buildings, because again, I can almost guarantee you that most of them will not be locked from the outside. So if you hear shooting over here and you're over near cosmetology, don't go in the building, because you don't know if somebody else is in there, okay? You might be heading into something that you really don't want to be heading to. Stay out of the building. If you get behind the car, you can get in the woods behind a tree, or if you got the car, you can drive off. Again, rescue teams will follow. That real quick. If you have somebody that's injured in your area, in a room, try to do the best you can as far as first aid to them. Use whatever you have. You got tissues, you got a jacket or something. Use whatever you can until you get help. If you do get, you get the word that, hey, there's one person in cosmetology, and you decide to go out, and you can't get to your car, just find a safe area to go to. Once the responders are here, they'll find you, but just kind of stay in that area, because everybody's going to be questioned by the law enforcement guys. So just whatever they ask you to do, please do. Now, we're kind of following what we call the run, hide, and fight. That's recommended by Homeland Security and a lot of the major police departments. If it is safe to do so, and again, the key word is safe. If you feel safe enough, and that's a personal decision, nobody's going to tell you, hey, you need to run. Because if you don't feel safe, don't run. And again, I've got some of this stuff written down here, and you guys take one on the way out, you can get out of the building, go to safety. Leave your belongings. Don't grab everything and go, because the more time, the quicker you can get out, the better you are. Okay? If you're going to evacuate, somebody else says, no, I'm not going, goodbye, I'm gone. If you see somebody wounded, leave them where they're at. The first responders, the emergency services responders will handle those folks. If you get out there and you see somebody walking toward a building and you're hiding someplace good, go, hey, don't go in the building. Tell them not to go in the building. There's something going on there. And again, once you see the law enforcement officer, make sure, don't run up to him, grabbing and hugging. No. So put your hands out so he can see and make sure that you're not a threat to him. And of course, if you can, call 911, and don't worry about calling us, because we'll know anyway. This is what most people will do, is what they call hide, which is getting into that room, locking the door, being quiet, turning off the lights, and hiding there until somebody comes and opens that door. That's law enforcement for you. Now this is probably the last resort, and that's why that's in red there. This fight, if somebody gets into this room and this has 30 people in it, most of the active shooters, their goal is to do as much damage to as many people as they can. There are websites out there that these people, once the investigations are over, they see that these people go onto these websites and they have 5-star people, they have 4-star people on it. These guys, they kind of, is it almost like a competition? Oh, well, he killed 12, I'm going to kill 13 or 14 so I get a better star than he does. Crazy world we live in, but it's true. Every one of these shooters have looked back and studied other shooters. Okay? These people aren't dumb. Nobody, I would say never, but probably 99.9% of these guys think these things through and plan these things. Okay? And how they plan these things is they look back and see what other people did. Okay? So, if you think that somebody comes in with a gun, the only time that wouldn't be the case usually if it's a domestic issue. We had one years back at the Lee County campus where they pulled somebody out of the classroom, took them up the hill and shot him. It was a girlfriend-boyfriend kind of thing. His idea was, I'm just after her, I could care about anybody else. Now if somebody tried to stop me, they probably would have done something. But normally they're not going to come into a room full of people and just do it. In Virginia Tech, where they had the 3 classrooms, he came in and he made people lie down on the floor in all 3 classrooms. And he went in between all those classrooms. And what he would do is he'd walk up and down the aisle while people were laying there shot. More than once, some of them. I met a girl who was shot 5 times at Virginia Tech. And he would leave that place and he would go to the next room, shoot some more. And you can hear all this. And that's what he did. They became victims. If it's me, I'm going to try to do whatever I can. I mean, if I'm going to get killed, at least let me get down and fight. I'm not going to lay there, unfortunately. I'll grab whatever I can and use it. You can use keys, if you got scissors, you've got to use a pen. There's all kinds of things. Pick up a chair, throw it, disrupt it. But once you've done that, you have to commit to complete it. You can't just throw the chair and then say, okay, it didn't work, and I'm standing here. But I guarantee he's going to shoot you. Okay? I say he, but it could be a she. So you have to commit to that. So if you decide to say, hey, I'm not going out as a victim, then if there's 4, 5, 6, 7 of you, you're going to get that person down. Okay? Because most of them aren't carrying automatic weapons. that is my presentation, except I have a little bit of something to show everybody. Who was here for the October? Is anybody here that did the October active shooter drill?
Oh, no, I did the other.
No, you did the
last
one in Lee.
year. Yeah.
Well, let me show you some. For those who didn't see it, probably even those who did, I got a little bit, some video of it. So I'm going to show you some snippets of some of the things that happened. Now, I don't have everything recorded, it's just what we have on the thing. This is the Mariella building. This is the side by cosmetology between the two. And this is how it started out. This is the first place that they went to. I'm going to turn that light off because it's see it better. These are the Lillington PD guys. And you'll see something happen. You'll know what's going on once you see it. The one in the yellow is the lieutenant from Harney County Sheriff's Department. See what happened? See how he ducked? They were using what they call simunitions. And they're actually cartridges that go into rifles and guns that shoots out a little paint pellet.
No.
So we actually used it run. That's me at the end, of course, staying back as far as I can. The thing of it is I had to wear a mask to cover my face and that black vest, that in case I got shot accidentally. I did look like a little like Darth Vader. And luckily I didn't get shot. So. And then what they did after, there was a shootout in one of the classrooms in there. The perpetrator was wounded. They got him. They started checking all the different doors to see who was still in there, trying to get them out. This is my main office. As you see, they're going to be checking out. All of you probably know James Pearson. James volunteered to be a victim. We had good participation that day with about 20-some students, which was great. And they all dressed